So, I have a bit of a hard truth today, and I think it takes a lot of honesty to sit with. And I'm not talking about being honest with other people, I'm talking about being honest with yourself. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to a new episode of the Mini Mirror Show. On this podcast, we talk all about emotional wellness. I'm your host, Amira Sookram, and I'm the author of the Guilt Free Goals book, an upcoming book, which is coming late 2024, called Feelings-Based Living. So whenever I kind of look for topics about emotional wellness, I open up my book and I look at something. And today a sentence kind of just jumped out at me. And it said that we can't just sit around and wait and pray and basically just wait on the universe or God to hand us what we want. And this is all on the topic of needs and desires. The point of feelings-based living is really to get in touch with our feelings so that we can understand our needs and desires. We started talking a bit about our basic needs and how to anchor into, just feeling stable in our lives. But the next step of really looking at why we're feeling the way we're feeling is like, what do we desire and what is missing? How can we go after our desires? So we can't just sit around and wait for God to hand us whatever we want, or the universe. You can replace that word with whatever works for you. We can't just sit around and wait. We can wait on our feelings, and we do have this sacred pause, but we can't just sit around and wait the rest of our lives to get what we want. We actually have to co-create with the universe to build our dream selves, to build our life. And we have to take steps towards what we want. So that's a lot of what I talk about in Guilt Free Goals. It's more about the actions that we take. And in feelings-based living, I'm going over how we can get in touch with our feelings so that we can understand what our needs and desires are. So here's an example. When I feel tired, I have a need or a desire that has to be met in order for me to process or move through that feeling. So in last week's episode, I talked about how that could be looking at my basic needs. And if I'm not hitting a basic need, maybe giving myself that need so that I can feel less tired or I can feel energized or maybe just feel neutral. So the other side of that would be, what do I desire that I'm not getting? Maybe I am tired because I really want more alone time. And I need to give myself that alone time. I need that downtime in order to not feel tired. So that could be a desire of mine. Another side of this is when we feel frustration, or we feel anger, or we feel sadness. But let's go with frustration. Frustration is this idea that we have expectations, maybe for our lives or for other people, that are not being met. And when they're not being met, we have to look at what is going on currently and where's the gap between that and our expectation of the situation. So you may have an expectation that you ask your partner to clean the dishes and they do it before you get home so that when you get home, there's no dirty dishes in the sink. But your partner has the expectation that they just need to do it before they go to sleep at night. And so they wait until right before they crawl into bed to wash all the dishes. And then you hear the sink running, the water's running, and you're trying to sleep and you get really frustrated because your expectation is very different than your partner's. This is sounding a little personal, but I promise you it's not. So basically, in this moment, we have to look at what our expectations are and where that feeling of frustration is coming from. And with emotional literacy, we name the feeling of frustration, we sit with why we're feeling that way, and then we have to step into emotional responsibility. How can I take responsibility for this emotion? So with your partner, you're upset that they're not meeting this expectation that you ask them to wash the dishes and they're doing it while you're trying to sleep. And that's probably really frustrating. But the emotional responsibility part comes from stepping up for your needs and desires and communicating those things to other people, and then letting them take what you communicate and dealing with your own emotions around it. So I feel frustrated. I recognize that it's because my partner is not meeting my expectation of washing the dishes before I get home from work. We're going to get into this in later episodes, but after that, we have to take that and communicate that expectation to our partner in a very kind and loving way, or maybe not very kind and loving, but in the most like respectful way that we can so that we don't sever that connection point because no one wants to do things for people they can't actually connect with. And people don't want to do things when they're getting blamed. Like, people want to have a loving connection, and that's where people want to show up for. So, after we take that communication side of it, we have to take responsibility for that feeling. If my partner still doesn't meet my expectation and we don't communicate about how we can meet in the middle, what am I doing here? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I acting in this way? Is there something that is actually keeping me here? Or is it something like my partner never listens to me and I'm just staying and I have no idea why? And that becomes a deeper exploration into your feelings and into your needs and desires. So we're not meant to just name our feelings. There's a whole purpose behind why we're doing it. And the end goal isn't to be, feeling our feelings all the time and stepping into this like emotional space 24/7. We want to feel our feelings so that we can step out of our feelings, we can process them, and we can take logical or practical steps towards our dream selves and in pursuit of our needs and desires. So, big sigh if this brought something up for you because it is a very heavy topic. So, we can't wait for the universe, God, ancestors, whatever word suits your needs there. We can't wait for them to come in and coddle us on our path. We can't wait for them to build our dream lives for us. We actually have to co create with the universe. And part of that could be sitting with your feelings to figure out your needs and desires. And honestly, this might not be the path for everyone. Some people might just want to bypass their feelings and just take action. And that's totally okay too. But the idea here is that we cannot wait on some otherworldly or other people in order to go after what we want. We actually have to take emotional responsibility and we have to take ownership over our thoughts, feelings, and actions. So that's it for this week. But I want to leave you with a question asking you, what do you need to take responsibility for in your life? We all have that one thing. Maybe it's booking that doctor's appointment. Maybe it's figuring out our finances finally. Maybe it's saying that hard thing in a friendship or relationship. We all have that one thing, at least one thing, that we need to be more responsible for. So, what is it for you? And I'm not saying you have to do anything about it, but I want you to create that awareness and figure it out. And I know I did a little ASMR last week. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.